Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning, February 7th. If you are any of my regular followers, this stuff that I'm going to talk about will make sense. If you are not one of my regular followers, none of this is probably going to make sense. So I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. There has been a lot that has happened over the last week. And so there's like 4 specific things that I want to talk about. But one of them was a week ago today, I ended up having to call the ambulance at my office for one of my coworkers. So I got to go into the details to get everything out. So forgive me. Last week was the end of the month. So the last day of the month was on Wednesday. She had come in on Monday and wasn't feeling really good and was kind of coughing and hacking and everything. And she did not come in on Tuesday, as she should have not. And then she ended up coming in on Wednesday, which I was very surprised by. But she's a Virgo, and Virgos are very much into work. And so she wasn't well, and she should have stayed home, but it was the last day of the month, and we don't have an overabundance of helpers right at the moment because we haven't been that busy. So they don't have a lot of extra people hanging around doing nothing that can take over. So, and we got a bunch of people out that's had babies recently. So we are short on many things right at the moment. So anyway, that afternoon, it was like, I don't know, between 1 and 1:30, I had gone back to the back because I had a call for her. And when I got back there, the manager had like a cold washcloth or something on the back of her neck. And I'm like, do we need to call Matt? And she's like, it'll take Matt an hour to get here. And I'm like, well, you can't drive the way you are, because it seemed like she took kind of a nosedive all of a sudden. And she's like, I'm thinking you might need to call the ambulance. And I was like, okay, tell me what to do. And she's like, call the ambulance. So I did. I called 911, and it's not at all. I mean, this is the second time in my life I've called the ambulance, but it's not like they do on TV. 911, what is your emergency? That is not how that whole call went. So anyway, while we were waiting on the medics and everybody to get there, the gal that sits directly behind my desk was in an interview. She's the account manager. So I kind of knocked on the door and I was like, hey, by the way, I just called the ambulance for Lynn, and you're going to see that come through the hall here in a second. And I didn't want to freak you out, so I wanted to warn you ahead of time. And so she put it on hold for a little bit, and we went back. And so that was quite dramatic. And of course, I didn't sleep very well that night because after the ambulance, I don't know if it was I think it was after they got there and I stepped out in the hall, or maybe it was after they left or whatever. There was this like gush of emotion, and I felt like I just wanted to bust down and cry. I did not, but that was traumatic. I was like, that somebody felt that bad. And I think part of I felt a little bit bad was because I didn't realize how bad she was feeling. But apparently she had influenza and her blood pressure had dropped. And I think they said the blood pressure dropping probably is what made her start feeling dizzy. And so she was probably dehydrated. And so anyway, she didn't come back to work until Monday. Doing better, not completely healed, but so that was Wednesday. And then I went to lunch with a couple of girlfriends over the weekend, and while we were at lunch, we were talking about I don't know if you guys have seen this series. It's a Netflix series it's called PainKiller. I ended up watching it. It took me a while to watch. It is hard to watch, and I had a sick pit in my stomach a lot of the time. But I feel like it is a somewhat important thing to watch if you don't really know how OxyContin ended up becoming so addictive, how it kind of took over. I don't even know what years this was, to be honest. It's been several years ago. But it's the story of a lot of what happened. I don't even want to give a bunch of it away. It was educational, to say the least. And I haven't been a fan of pharmaceutical companies since I started selling essential oils in 2012. But watching this was even more of a, just kind of a, oh man, we need those people to come down. People like the people that ran the Purdue Pharma that pushed OxyContin and the higher dosages and how they went about doing all of that. There's a bug flying around. And I do feel like I got some confirmation from someone that follows me that said I think she said she'd just come out of pharmacy school when that was all going down. And I said, would you like to put your 2 cents worth in? Because I wanted to hear her side of the story as someone kind of on the streets. And so anyway, PainKiller on Netflix. They also suggested watching The Fall of the House of Usher. It's weird, I'll be honest. I think Edgar Allan Poe was the writer of the book of this. Whatever the case is, it is very weird, but it's also about the crooked pharmaceutical companies and what lengths they will go to keep their money and everything. I'm only like halfway through on that one. And then a third one that I've been told to watch is on Hulu called Dopesick. So I've never even heard of any of these things. They don't pop up in my thing, in my recommended showing stuff, because I'm a big Hallmark fan. But I have got myself burnt out on Hallmark movies to the point of where I'm just like, oh, I can't watch any of them anymore right now. So that has been occupying a lot of my time, is just kind of watching those things. And then for those of you that knew me back before I moved from the old apartment, you have heard me talk about how I did a meditation. My guide sent me to this new apartment. I was basically specifically pushed into this one apartment because when the time came, this was the only one that was going to be available for my price range and my time frame. And I basically signed the paperwork sight unseen because I was trusting my guides. So the other day I was on the phone with a friend of mine and she said, have you figured out why your guides were so specific about where you been yet? And I said, maybe I'm starting to see that now. So back around Martin Luther King Day, I talked about having a frozen pipe. And me and the frozen pipe neighbor have started to bond a little bit. And we ran into each other out in the parking lot one day, and I'm like, so you are the one that lives right here? And he confirmed that. And then I started realizing he has this super old dog. And once I got a good look at him, then I realized that the guy that I see back here walking this old dog, occasionally I was like, okay, that's my neighbor, because I haven't seen this old dog since I got here. I've just only recently seen it. So it's confusing. I had lots and lots and lots of questions. So he climbs cell phone towers for a living. And, so here I am going, okay, I think I have a nice guy that I'm living next to because he has a stable job. He seems to be fearless. He's not afraid of heights. And he's very, very gentle when he walks this dog. So I am and there's other things that were going on that my curiosity is completely piqued. So I'm I got to talk to this dude sometime. So I ended up, after the emergency at the office last week, I ended up sticking a note on his door because I'm oh, I want to talk to him. I need some questions answered because it was just it was consuming my brain too much. And I think I can read his energy. I think I felt his energy when we ran into each other in the parking lot that first day, even though we were 3 car lengths apart and we were kind of talking in the middle of it. Something happened that day. And so anyway, I stuck a note on his door last Wednesday and I was like, hey, this is your your frozen pipe neighbor, maybe it would be handy to have each other's phone numbers in case of an emergency. And he sent me a message the next morning and gave me his and said, happy, what did he say? Happy Friday Eve. And I'm like, okay. So I think he's pretty cool. I ran into him. He was walking the dog Sunday morning out back behind my patio here. And so I went over there and popped out the door and I was like, hey, how old is that dog? And he said 18. And I'm like, I guessed at least 15. I mean, you could just tell she walks really slow. And so we talked about the dog a lot. He's had that dog since he was 16. And his mom was considering putting her down. And he was like earlier around the holidays sometime. He said he came from probably 45 minutes away. He said his mom had been discussing putting the dog down. And he was like, she's still got some life in her. So he ended up bringing her home and taking care of her. So so I think we might have, and I say we, I think I might have, and this is a species of men that is hard to come by, and I'm not saying they're not out there. Hopefully I have any guys, I have a few guys that watch my channel, and I hope that you guys are some of these, you know, stable income, kind to animals. When I was giving him the 20 questions, he wasn't not willing to share himself with me, which was nice. Because I run into that a lot with the older guys. It's like they are so they don't want to share because they have a lot of baggage in their life. And this guy's young enough that he hasn't probably been bombarded with a lot of baggage that us older people have had. So, so I don't know if I am here to help transition the dog or help him through the transition of the dog, or if there is another reason he and I got placed together. Because I can definitely say that there's some sort of energy commingling going on here that's kind of freaking me out. So that is going on. And I think the last thing, those of you that are Transact card people, we had a change over the weekend, and I have not had a chance to really dig deep into all of the changes. I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot until I have all my facts straight. They did a name change, and from what I can understand was there's a lot of baggage and negativity that probably the black hats have put out there about Transact card. There's a lot of those bankers that don't want this coming to the marketplace because it's competition for them. So for many reasons, they've added some stuff, they've changed some stuff, and when I get my head wrapped around all of that, I'll talk about it more. But at the moment, it's like I'm still in information gathering stage, trying to decide the good of it, and you know, did they let go of all the stuff we needed to get rid of, or what the deal is. So anyway, I will keep you posted on that as I get more information. But the new name is Finmore. It still seems to have all of the same people, and it feels like the mission is still the same with the e-commerce site where you use some sort of credits to buy down products to save you money in the long run and help ends meet. I'm hearing between February 15th and March 15th, we will see a big change in the e-commerce site. So bear with me as I navigate the new waters. And like I said, last week was just nuts. So yesterday, I think I was like processing a lot of stuff, like trying to figure out, and it's like going, you know, it was like craziness. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good, happy hump day, a good rest of the week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.